Hello, my friend. You tell me that you find it very difficult to know what to do about the pain that you see in the world, and most especially about watching people dying or being tortured or starving to death at a time when you yourself are relatively safe, have plenty of food to eat, and find it very difficult to know what to do about this. And it is especially hard when you find yourself constantly confronted with opposing camps that become polarized and that make it impossible for you to find ground under your feet, so that you lose a sense of your own position and morality in relation to this problem. And the other thing you mention is how hard it is to feel so helpless in relation to this kind of injury and pain and injustice and inhumanity that we are all watching. Well, my friend, we don't have to focus it just on what we see in Gaza, although that is what you spoke to me about, because these kinds of scenes have happened many times over the last decades, and we have had to watch other people suffering and dying, not knowing what we ourselves can do about it. Now, of course, you can go on protests, you can sign various documents that people have put out to show your support. You can even show your support for both sides in the equation, because Gaza has been a little different to Ukraine. With the Ukraine situation, it was easy to know that those people who were under attack were obviously the ones we needed to support. A sovereign state being attacked. It was clear, and our compassion flowed very easily towards our Ukrainian friends. But with Gaza, it all started in one direction and then went in the other direction. So we learned to empathize with both sides. We could feel the pain of Israeli people who were under attack and whose family members had been kidnapped or killed. But we could also feel the pain of Palestinians whose lives were made impossible and who were hounded by the retaliation. And now, as we see these very extreme scenes, it becomes really frightening to think that the international community is just not able to stop this kind of desperate situation. So it has become a bigger problem. It's no longer about two parties fighting each other and you having to take sides. There is no need to take sides. It's clear that all the human beings involved in this conflict find themselves in an impossible situation, and that as a worldwide community, we seem incapable of providing solutions and taking the moral high ground and simply stating that this kind of situation should never happen, should never be allowed to be endured by any human being whatsoever. Even the United Nations seems to be completely at a loss to prevent or even lessen the suffering in that situation. Now, this is all extremely important because it means that whatever we do or say, we still find ourselves helpless and we still don't see how we can ease that situation. And we see so much of it that many of us identify with these people who are suffering and feel it as if it is part of our own lives. We start to identify with it. It becomes real to us, and so we are in real pain. And I've seen this with many of my clients who have become much more anxious and much more depressed because of these worldwide situations. And that leads to something that has become very clear to me over the past years, that through social media and through the internet and the way we are an international community where all these things become very real to us now, and where we can watch what is happening in real time very often. We are all implicated. It is personal. This is not about those people over there anymore. It is about you and I. It is about how human beings are being treated and how this affects us and how it makes us afraid to think that human lives can be dealt with so carelessly and so callously. It is difficult to find our courage in relation to something that seems so absurd and so outrageous and so wrong. And you know, this is because we get so much information. We are exposed to so much more knowledge and awareness of what is happening in the world around us in the worst possible ways, and we very rarely find out what many people are doing to fight this or to alleviate it. A lot of that remains dark, so we never see it as something that is being helped or that is being improved on. There is very little good news in the world, but there is also very little wisdom and very little understanding and very little peaceful contemplation about what it means to every one of us and how we are going to define our attitude towards it. So we end up with a lot of panic, and some people make it worse by guilt-tripping other people about their confusion or about not speaking out or not knowing where to put themselves. That is totally unhelpful. We need to keep a clear eye on what is actually happening and not let ourselves become overwhelmed or panic-driven in these tragedies. More than ever, what it shows is that we have to work together, each of us, in the best way possible in our local situation, to make sure that human beings do not end up harming each other, doing violence to each other, fighting each other, exterminating each other, but that we create a greater sense of human community and a greater sense of the importance of fostering wisdom in that situation, of fostering ways in which, on a smaller scale, each and every day of your life, you can intervene in the smaller conflicts in your own life, in your own environment. Because, my friend, the world will only change for the better if we build it up from the root system, and if we link with each other to keep our eye on the ball of being good to each other and to ourselves, and to work in conjunction with each other rather than against each other. So whenever somebody is hostile towards you in that situation, remind them not to get taken over by this animosity and this hostility and this polarizing of human beings. No, my friend, we all know that the decent thing to do is to overcome such hostility and to work together towards listening to each other, communicating in a fair-minded, open-hearted way, and building strength in the process of doing that, so that we can reach out our hands across the world, no matter what is going wrong anywhere, and we can support those people who can make a difference in that situation, and give them the moral support of knowing that we all, decent human beings, stand together in favor of human evolution, of human civilization, a civilization in which controversy and conflict are met with peace and calm and mutual understanding, and a process of communication rather than a process of mutual accusation. And we have so much expertise in that area. It is something that I have written about and lectured about a great deal, and I'm working with lots of groups of people, especially through the existential movement, to make this more widely known, more widely used, and more ordinary for all of us. I hope, my friend, that you can find inner peace with this conflict, inner peace to support wherever you can support, to challenge peacefully wherever you can challenge, and to take your life and the lives of those around you gradually but steadily towards greater understanding, more peace, and a more firm commitment towards working together in collaboration instead of in destroying each other or undermining each other in smaller ways as well. It matters, my friend. Allow yourself the feelings. Don't suppress them, but don't let them overwhelm you or make you feel anxious and guilty for no good reason. Do what you can locally to make amends in your own life in relation to the conflicts that arise. Be well, my friend, and never let world events discourage you from holding your own and following the path of rightness, truth, peace, and a loving way of being. Take care. I hope it helps a little bit to ease your worries and your stress about this very deep-seated fear you have about what is going on.